anytime I had negative thoughts, I literally had to get on it like the police. We're going to shift this thought.
Hey, welcome to Powerful Shares. I'm Melissa, and here we discuss powerful topics, hoping to connect with different populations of people out there because we are not alone in our struggles, in our sufferings, anything in life, really. Today, we are talking about cancer, and my guest is Erika, and she is going to share with us how she has been coping and dealing with taking care of her mom, who's currently battling it. So, Erika, thank you so much for coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
It's been a journey. It has been up and down, but because of a lot of practices that I have, I'm not like totally off my rocker.
Right. Shall we start from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear it, girl.
All right. So yeah, from the beginning. So I have multiple businesses. I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And one of my businesses, I've been a PMA advisor.
Okay.
It's Private Membership Association. And I had been mentored under the most famous expert of PMAs. And myself and a group of people under the team, we started researching thousands of court cases 100 years back and discovered that what our mentor and many other so-called PMA experts were sharing was false.
Okay.
And so we discovered this giant 100-year plus scam. And because of discovering the scam, it caused so much stress in my body. Integrity is super important to me, having high morals. So discovering that I was teaching false information to people unintentionally just stressed me out. So I was very stressed out for 3 months once we discovered this.
Okay.
And my body manifested a 9.1 centimeter cyst on my left ovaries.
Oh my gosh.
And I went down to visit my family because I live in Santa Cruz, and I went down to Palm Springs.
So wait, can I pause? So this
Yeah.
is all before your mom's diagnosis?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Go on. I just want to get the timeline clear.
Okay.
Okay.
So I go down to Palm Springs to relax, and I'm starting to have some pain on my left side during my menstrual cycle. And because I follow a healthy lifestyle of Ayurveda, I have healthy menstrual cycles. So having this pain was like, what is going on? And I went to the emergency because I started having a fever, and they're like, you have a 9.1 centimeter cyst, and you need to remove it within 5 days, because if that bursts, you will die. Like, it's very serious. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm so excited to come and relax in Palm Springs, and I have to have emergency surgery. And I'm like, never had surgery before, never had health problems like this. So I end up finding a hospital that will do surgery, and I got that done. That was really intense, gnarly experience. It took at least a month for me to recover. Because it was emergency, there were a little bit more complications, and so it took me some time to recover. So I left Palm Springs, my family, we drove up to Santa Cruz, and I'm recovering up there and trying to mellow out my lifestyle. And I find an OBGYN because the doctor was like, you still have other things that you need to get taken care of. We just had to deal with this cyst. And I was like, oh my gosh, what else did my body create in 3 months? So I find this amazing OBGYN, and she does the CT scan on me, and she says that I have endometriosis and I should have a second surgery. She doesn't know how bad it is, but from what the other doctors said, it was something serious to look at.
At what point in the healing process from the first surgery did you find out that you had to get another surgery?
That was in October of 2023. I had my first surgery, I think it was like May 2nd.
6 months later.
Yeah, I technically would have if I was more in action about it, because I was like, I need to recover. I need to come back to myself. I need to heal. I don't want to go back to the doctor and find out I have something else to do. So that's why I kind of procrastinated a bit before I found this OBGYN. I should have just gone to her right away, because she was like, no, you have endometriosis, and this is something that, you know, I told her, I was like, I want to have children. So she's like, then this is something we need to take care of. And she was like, oh, this will be a simple surgery. It's like 2 hours, maybe 2.5. And that's not how it was. She ends up calling my mom at like an hour and a half. And she was like, this is really serious. She has stage 4 endometriosis.
Wait a minute. So this is when you're already under the knife. So you're under the knife.
Yeah, I'm under the knife.
She takes a timeout, calls your mom.
Yeah. She called my mom actually twice. So that was the first call.
What was the point? Why did she
So the
call?
first call was like, she's not going to be done in 2.5 hours. This is going to be a long surgery. This is really serious. She has stage 4 endometriosis.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then at least an hour or more later, she called my mom and she was like, it's all over her colon, it's all over her fallopian tubes, her ovaries, her uterus, it's everywhere. What? She was like, I want to remove both her fallopian tubes and her appendix and like all this stuff. And my mom was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. She was like, no, she wants to have children and naturally, if possible. So no, you need to keep cleaning up in there. So she ended up cleaning up everything. She only removed my right fallopian tube and my appendix, but my colon, like, because it had really bad endometriosis, she was, I guess you're scraping it. And so my colon's really affected, and I'm having to do all kinds of things with Ayurveda to treat my colon. And
wow.
It's really hard. Like, it's really upsetting. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And this
waddling.
is, and again, this is still all before your mom's diagnosis.
Yes.
Wild. So you're already dealing with so much.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a lot. And on top of dealing with those things, like, I'm also still dealing with my businesses. Like,
right.
I'm not, like, when I'm resting, I am doing my best to rest, but I am still doing work on the computer when I can.
Wow. So the last 6 months have been pretty difficult, because here you are, 2 surgeries deep, recovering, healing from all the things. Obviously, you went through a whole mental whirlwind with that too, right? So then your mom gets diagnosed. That comes next. Is that right?
Yeah. So I recovered for the month, and then I started feeling good in January, and I was like getting back to my routines, yoga and meditation and pranayama, and just really taking care of myself. And I was been started processing the PTSD from the amount of stress that I had from that business and having 2 surgeries and how that impacted me. Because I never thought that, I mean, I knew I was having an intense amount of stress, but I didn't think I would create a 9.1 centimeter cyst and stage 4 endometriosis in 3 months.
Right.
I was doing enemas for my colon. I did some plant medicine ceremonies to help process. I also did EMDR therapy.
Okay, and what is that?
Rapid eye movement.
Oh, okay.
Where you share about an experience and then you follow this, like a stick or something. Your eyes have to go back and forth, and then it helps process the memory. And I did that with the therapist for a few months to help me release, you know, because I didn't realize how much PTSD I had from the experience.
With the business.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically you did a whole bunch of different healing modalities to process and deal with it mentally, emotionally, physically.
Yeah, and then I start feeling good mid-end of January, and then February rolls around and it's Valentine's, and I get this weird feeling, and I immediately called my mom, and she was at the emergency, and I was like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know, I have this pain on my left side, or my right side, my right side. And I was like, okay. And she's like, do you think it could be like I don't know, maybe I'm backed up, maybe I'm constipated. And I was like, maybe, but she's like, maybe it's my appendix. I'm like, maybe, but I think that's all on the other side. And she was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just waiting at the emergency. So they go and do scans on her, and the doctor says when she gets out that she has cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And he doesn't know what type of cancer, he doesn't know anything, but she's like shocked. And I had kind of intuitively felt something was going on for a while, but I couldn't pay attention to that because I was dealing with my own.
Right. Yeah, you had to get through your stuff first.
Mm-hmm. I felt like my 2 surgeries were like my prerequisite on how I was going to help her, because I started learning even more about the medical system. I already had known a lot, but not enough. And this, like, my surgeries showed me a whole new world of it. And so I was like, okay, I know that I can help her through this process and advocate for her.
What do you mean medical system and process?
Just how they operate and how you have to, like, you're communicating to one person and making sure that, like, for example, for me, I had to make sure that my surgeries were going to happen. If I wasn't following through, I wasn't getting callbacks. Like, I was on my own.
Oh, okay.
So I had to advocate for myself. Lucky for me, on my first surgery, I ended up getting an advocate and getting that support. So I got to see how she was navigating it. So I got to deal with that on my second surgery. Mm-hmm. But then for my mom, I was like, I'm going to have to be her advocate, essentially.
Wow.
Just making sure that things move forward. Because, I mean, there's so many people who are sick and needing help. So they are like, if you're not in action about that, you could just go by the wayside.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So
okay, so it's like you learned from your 2 surgeries, and then you could kind of step up and help her out. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and I was really grateful for that. And that day I found out, like, we got the call. We were at friends' houses, and I just went home and I just sobbed. It was like a huge cry that I had to just release. And I'm really glad that I did that, because I just listened to my intuition, and if I hadn't, I think I would have been very emotional the whole time. But because I felt it, and I pulled up all the energy, and I just cried that whole night, I felt so much better the next day, and I felt more clear that I could be there for her.
Right. Wow.
So a few days later, I left Santa Cruz and I drove down to Palm Springs to go and help her.
Okay. I think that what you just said right there is really huge, because by taking that time, 48 hours to process and have a real cry, it allows you to kind of get out of the way to be present for her.
Yeah.
You're able to take care of yourself and get your emotions processed and through, so then you can be completely there for her, almost out of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I knew I had to remove myself out of the situation. Obviously I'm going to take time to take care of me and have my emotions, but not when I'm there for her.
Right.
When she's going through what she's going through, I need to be there. It's not going to be about me.
Right.
And
wow.
that I had to be very clear about that. I was very strong intuition, knowing.
Wow, Erika, that's really powerful, because I think that's a really difficult thing to do.
I think because of doing all the practices and constantly grounding myself, that was my only option.
Right.
Be emotional and a mess and then make it about me, or process on my own and then just be there for her.
Right. Wow.
Because I'm not the one with the cancer. She is.
Right.
So.
Right. Wow. So you get down to Palm Springs, and okay, so then what happens from there?
I get down there trying to figure out what are the next steps, and we make some phone calls. We find an oncologist that we think is going to be great, and set up the appointment, go there. I think it was a day later, and meet with him. And I thought he was really great. He is. And he said that we could start, or she could start chemo the next day.
Okay, but I have a question.
Yeah.
So, but why would he want to start chemo the next day if he didn't even know what stage it was and where it was?
So let me go back to that.
Okay.
So she went and had some more scans, MRI, CT scans, some other things, and then when we went and had our appointment with him, he knew where she was at.
Okay.
And we went the whole appointment and he didn't want to tell us where she was at with her cancer process, because when you tell the patient that, that is going to stress them out. It's already stressful to find out you have cancer.
Right.
And how he was talking about it, that it was like in her colon and that she was having tumors in her liver and like it had moved around. I was like, all right, this is easily stage 4 cancer. And so I asked him, is this stage 4 cancer? And he was like, yes. And I was like, so what, tell me the picture. Like, what is it? And he's like, this is stage 4 colon cancer that's metastasized to the liver.
Wow. So it's already in the liver.
It's already, so yeah.
Wow.
That's not good.
No.
And I was like, all right, I need to know the things that she can take and what she can't take.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of counteractive natural remedies with chemo. For example, you can't have grapefruit. You can't have certain types of mushrooms. So I want to know what that list was so I could be giving her some natural treatments, but it wasn't going to affect her chemo.
Right.
So we could be doing both to keep her immune system up as much as possible, keep her, her blood cell count higher, keep making sure she doesn't become anemic. There's all kinds of things that happen with chemo that really drain the body. So I combined Ayurveda, with an anti-inflammatory diet, making sure she's getting fresh juices. We went out and bought a fresh juicer. So I basically created this whole diet and lifestyle plan for her that would be appropriate while she's doing chemo.
And you could do this because you live your life by Ayurveda, and are you an Ayurveda coach?
Yes, technically I'm called an Ayurvedic health counselor.
Okay, so you have all the informations for the most part to be able to help her.
Yes.
So you're really taking action now.
Yes.
Okay.
And since someone who is a health counselor of Ayurveda, they're not a practitioner or an Ayurvedic doctor, but since I have been studying Ayurveda for a long time, I go to India, I do all types of treatments within Ayurveda. I have a lot more knowledge than the average health counselor would. And so that's why I knew how to create a diet and lifestyle plan for her that would work really well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all are at the appointment and you're hearing this news and it sounds like you're just down to business.
Yeah.
Not even letting your emotions involved, just down to business. Okay. Was your mom at that time, was she kind of in shock or was she kind of just feeling like my daughter's got this? Like, was she feeling hope? Like, what was her state?
That's a great question. I don't actually have a word that I would use. I can give you a series of words. She was kind of like blasé, like she was like a screen had gone over her eyes and she wasn't there. She was in shock. And she couldn't absorb the information. My dad was also in the room and he was like, I can't handle this. I need to get out of the room. And I was like, that's not good. I mean, he's also older, so like giving him too much information already, he just can't handle. So I think my mom felt good that I was there because I could completely take my emotions out of it and be there, ask the doctor really critical questions and make sure she's taken care of. But because she couldn't process it, like she didn't even really get, like she understood she had cancer, but she didn't get what stage it was at, really where it was at. It was very hard for her to take in information.
Right. I mean, especially when it's just kind of like, bam, here it all is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So then what happens from there?
Well, our whole lives immediately changed.
Right.
I'm having to restructure my businesses so I can completely like be down there to take care of both of them, mainly her, but both of them. And so I got a vision and I was guided to reach out to this one guy that lives in their area. He's a caregiver. So I reached out to him to help when I'm not available or if I'm not there. So we immediately got the caregiver. He's amazing. And then I made that whole lifestyle and food list that she was going to eat, not eat. And I also had to do a lot of research like with this type of cancer. So for example, colon cancer, a big part of how that happens is, your colon is dry. And so I've known for a long time she's very dehydrated. So I was like, we need to drink a lot more water. Obviously, that's not going to heal the tumors and the cancer, but it's going to help her in her process. So I'm going to make sure she's having a lot more water. We're going to take in a lot more healthy oils like olive oil and ghee and things like that to start restructuring and cleaning out her body and giving her strength while she's taking chemo.
I have to say, this is pretty remarkable that you were able to literally dive in and literally get into such action to where you were in a way like her healthcare provider, but not just her healthcare provider, but like kind of doctoring her with like natural remedies.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. That is remarkable. Good for you. Okay, sorry. Just wanted to give you a little praise there.
Thanks.
So then what?
Well, just starting to do all these natural treatments, but then really baby stepping it because every body is unique and I have to see how she handles the chemo and also working with her doctor really closely. And she's doing chemo every other week.
Okay, so can I
Yeah.
pause? Okay, so after you had that doctor visit when you found out it was stage 4, when did she start chemo after that? Was it like a week after, 2 weeks after?
Yeah, I was like very aggressive in a kind way.
Yeah.
And I told the doctor, think about this being your mom. Let's get the chemo.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. Because we have to relate. I mean, we're humans.
Right.
And I need to make this personal because it's personal for me.
Right.
And so I was like, this is your mom. When can we start? And he was like, we can start tomorrow. And I was like, good answer.
Okay. So then you started the next day.
So she started the next day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you had she had chemo treatments every other week, did you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. For how long?
She actually her last chemo was last week. So July 3rd.
So from February to July 3rd.
And I will
2024.
Yeah, 2024. I will say, though, she is 76, about to be 77. She has very good health. Like, she has no diagnoses of anything else, been super healthy, hardly gets a cold. She never got COVID, like, healthy, strong as an ox type of woman.
Right.
And so it's shocking to hear that she had cancer. That being said, he wanted to see how she would handle the chemo because usually at her age they may or may not do chemo.
Okay.
Because older people, that can be very risky, and usually someone at that age becomes anemic right away. And so these were all concerns he brought up, and I was like, I totally hear you. Thank you for bringing up those concerns. I'm going to be making sure I add in things on her protocol to cover that.
Okay. So now she's going into chemo every other week.
Yeah.
And you are adding Ayurvedic practices into the routine. So how was it overall? I mean, was her state of condition somewhat stable throughout the February 6 months? Or was it like up and down? Did she have what did that look like?
Yeah, it was definitely up and down. It was hard. She didn't get as sick as some people get really sick on chemo. She was able to handle it really well. There was only 2 different times where they had to skip chemo that week, and they pushed it out to 2 weeks instead of every other week. And that's because her her blood count got low. And so I just made sure to counteract that with green juices. So we would make fresh green juices every morning, leafy greens, light. We would do like 1 or 2 carrots. We'd do some beets. We'd do cucumber, celery, like lots of greens.
Wow.
To help the anemia. And so after that, though, she was good. She never got anemic the whole time, which is, he said he's never had a patient not become anemic.
Wow.
But it was a roller coaster. I mean, her first like couple months, she was very emotional, and I was just there for her, and I was having to make sure I did a lot of self-care
For you.
for me.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about that really quick?
Sure.
So what did you do for, because you were down there helping her pretty much this whole time. So what did you do for yourself to remain in a balanced state to be able to be there for her?
Yeah, I would wake up really early. With Ayurveda, we follow the circadian rhythm, which is, going to sleep when the sun is going down and it's been down for 2 hours, and then you wake up before the sun. So I was waking up around 5:30 in the morning, and I would go to a yoga class, and I would walk anywhere from 5 to 10 miles a day. I would do meditation. I would do pranayama. That's like breathing exercises. I would do abhyanga. So that's a full body oil massage. I would also go get massages. I'd go to the spa when I could, but like I had to be very concise with my self-care. And if I didn't do it, I could become very emotional. And I actually had like 2 or 3 times where I did get really emotional, and I was like, I need to take a break. I need to go back to Santa Cruz. I need to leave Palm Springs. And I did do that. But overall, I was able to like keep my cool because of those practices every day.
Wow.
Like, and I mean every day. Like if I missed a day, like if I didn't go to yoga or go walk several miles, or also I was swimming a lot, if I wasn't doing that, I couldn't like release the energy out of my body.
Right, because this is very traumatizing and tragic for you too.
Right.
So you're also processing,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those modalities helped you kind of work through it to keep you grounded there
Yeah.
for her. Wow, that is so impressive. I think that is so impressive.
Yeah, it was interesting because actually in January, when I was really getting back onto my practices after my own surgery and I had been recovering, I heard intuitively, you need to get on these practices. And now I know that was essentially preparing me for this.
Right.
Because if I had just gone from my surgery and immediately like dealt with her, I don't think I would have handled that well. I had a month of like taking care of myself and doing the practices to make that a habit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, so going back to your mom and the Ayurveda that you mixed in with the chemo, was she eating meat with that too? Like what was her source of protein?
Red meat is not that great to do with colon cancer because it's hard to digest.
Right.
She had a little bit of red meat. Unfortunately, she was having to do a lot of protein shakes.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of those because they have a lot of chemicals and preservatives, and that can cause constipation. So yes, she would take those, but for additional protein, we were doing a lot of cooked fish. She can't have raw fish. She was having a lot of chicken and just a little bit of red meat.
Very Got it.
But
Okay.
protein is so important because you easily lose weight on chemo because everything tastes just very, for her, she said it tasted disgusting. It tastes like, kind of like iron tasting.
Yeah.
It just was really bad.
Right.
So,
And how are you, so through this process, right? I'm assuming she had low energy. Mm-hmm. And how did you have her like walking every day? What did you do to help her with that?
so when she would have her chemo that day afterwards, she could go home and she felt pretty good.
Okay.
But most times she would rest. She'd start not feeling well, would be like the second, third, fourth day. And then she had a surgery put in a port. So if you are having that many chemo treatments, if you're just having the plugs go into you, you can get collapsed veins or arteries. And so they put in a port, which is it's surgery just to put in like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like a little thing that they can then plug in her chemo.
Okay.
And when she would go and do that, it was a lot more intense. So she would not feel good probably day 2 to 5. And then she would pretty much just rest those days. And I would give her as much water as she would take. I would try and get her to walk, but she was mainly sleeping and she wouldn't eat that much.
Now, was that scary?
Yeah, because she also lost a lot of weight. She was about like 150, and at the lowest, she got down to 114.
Wow.
And that was like, the doctor thought she would have gotten a lot skinnier, but because I was like making sure she was eating, giving her so many healthy things with Ayurveda and giving her meats and stuff like that, being really on top of her diet, it helped her. She didn't drop weight as much as he thought it would happen.
Got it. Okay. So when she was sleeping those days, right, and like losing weight, what was her emotional state? I mean, I get that she was asleep, but what did she have high hopes? What did that look like?
Yeah. She's strong. She's a tough cookie. I would say the first 2 months she was really emotional. Anytime she had to talk about it, she would start crying.
Wow, right.
But after like the first month, she was like, no, I'm going to beat this. Like she was saying that in the beginning, but it was very shaky. Like she wasn't sure if she was going to beat it. Right. And then she just one day decided, I'm beating this. I'm not going to become like a victim to my circumstances. And then she just changed her mindset. And yes, she would talk about and get emotional and she would cry, but she was like, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to overcome this. I don't know how, but I'm going to. And I had a feeling she would, but you have to change your mindset.
Right.
And if you don't, that is a really slippery slope. A lot of people, even the doctor said, if you don't change your mindset, there's a really high chance that you're not going to make it.
Right. Oh, man. Oh,
yeah.
That is so intense. That is so sad. It's just such a nasty disease.
Mm-hmm.
So when you saw her losing weight and when you saw her really weak, that must have been heartbreaking.
It was really heartbreaking because it's my precious little mom.
Right, right. And so can I ask, how did you stay present to her and not get wrapped up in your emotions, even seeing that? Because it sounds like you were able to really be a soldier on the front line here for her.
Yeah. So like I shared before, I would have a pretty strict routine. I was very disciplined. Like I'd meditate and do pranayama, the breathing exercises. I would do the abhyanga, the self-massage, the yoga, and exercise. I was walking 5 to 9 or 10 miles a day. But one thing that really helped is waking up early and praying. And I would go in the pool or I would do it on the walk and I would just pray for hours. And I wouldn't just be praying for my mom. I'd be praying for the world and all beings, but really focusing on sending her that love and that energy. And I do it in the morning, watching the sun rise in the pool or on the walk. Or I would do, and I would do it in the evening as the sun would go down. I'd sit in the pool or I'd just watch the stars and I'd pray.
Wow. The power of prayer, man.
Is powerful.
It is powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm so happy for you that you were just able to get through it thus far.
Yeah.
right? Which brings me to my next question. So you mentioned that just recently she had her last treatment. What does this whole journey look like for her now at this point?
So pretty good. I don't know exactly where we're at. So her last CT MRI scan was a couple months ago, and they said that she had improved, the cancer had improved by 30%. And
Okay.
he was shocked by that, especially since she wasn't anemic or having like all kinds of other reactions. And so it's been a couple months now. So next Thursday, mid-July, she's going to have her next scan and all the tests to see where she's at.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll see what next steps are. But he's like really shocked by how well she's done.
Oh, good for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So after she gets that done, then she's going to leave Palm Springs and come up to Santa Cruz and take a few months of a break from chemo, and they'll assess what's going to be her next step, if she's going to do more chemo, if the chemo and all these things helped balance her out. Hopefully the cancer will be in remission.
Oh, wow. Already.
Yes, but we don't know. We have to see how the tests go. He thinks it could be, and then she would just have like maintenance chemo, or she could possibly get radiation. He's not sure, depending on these tests.
Wow, Erika.
Yeah.
So you're still in it, girl.
We're still in it.
You're still in it, and you're here with me sharing on this podcast such a difficult journey that is so strong of you and brave. You have so much courage. Thank you so much. Can I ask you, there are so many people out there in your position where a loved one, parent, sibling, what have you, that is witnessing their loved one battle cancer. What words would you say to them to try to keep them with a positive mindset?
So I gave my mom a series of affirmations. I'm a huge fan of Louise Hay. She has a book that she created back in the day called Heal Your Body, and it talks about the disease and then what it means and then the affirmation for it. So, she had cancer. She has cancer in her colon. She has liver cancer. She's got tumors. So I looked up all of those things individually, and I wrote out the affirmations, and then I also intuitively created some of my own. And so I gave her affirmations to say and to think about and to focus on, and even also not just affirmations to say, also to do tapping and emotional freedom technique, EFT, tapping like on the certain points on her face to just help build the energy and shift her mindset, and just having positive, motivating conversations, because anyone can make changes. It's hard in the beginning, but once you get over that initial stages, you can do it. Like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And so that was my commitment to supporting her and having those conversations every day. Sometimes like multiple times in a day that she can do it. I was camping and I started praying, and I was in the river, and I was like, Creator, I need to give my mom a heart rock. She loves hearts. So I was like, find me a heart rock. And I heard, all right, like I'm giving you a heart rock. And I literally looked down, and right at the tips of my toes was a heart rock, a perfect like heart rock.
Shape of a heart.
Yes, the shape of a heart, the front and the back. And I picked that up and I gave that to her. And so she also, when she's saying her affirmations or she's doing her prayers, she's like holding on to that.
Oh,
so
wow.
Little things, to have those inspiring or things that remind you that you're strong. You're stronger than you know you are.
Yes, you're stronger than you know you are. Wow, that's good.
My dad, he was really nervous that she was going to die. Since he's older, he loops a lot in his mind. And I had to just remind him frequently, if we think negatively, we're going to create the negative outcome. And we need, not just for her sake, for your own sake, your own well-being, to just think positively. And my dad was really difficult about this. Bless him. He's so precious. I love him dearly. But I just had to remind him all the time. And I had to remove my emotions out of it, because he would just say some weird thing or very negative thing, like she's going to die and like who's going to take care of me. And he would focus a lot on that. And I'd have to be like, no, like she's going to overcome this. This is her journey. You need to support her. This isn't about you. And honestly, it was just a moment by moment, like letting go of, if he was upsetting me, just being positive for them and for him. And he would say all kinds of things, but you just had to let go of you and your identity on how he's making me feel. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And just constantly having that gentle reminder. I mean, you can't force what did they say? A horse to drink water. You can lead them there, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
And I had to remind myself that often, because I also was like, I want you to be positive, but I can't make you be positive. So I kind of just let him do his own thing.
Right.
And just let go of attachment.
Right. Wow. That's powerful. You show great strength. You certainly show great strength. And I send so many prayers and blessings to your mom and your family.
Thank you.
And wish her the best on the next scans that are coming up.
Thank you.
Mid-July. So much love and support in her direction, and anybody's direction that's battling with cancer. It's so nasty.
Yeah.
Thank you again for getting on and sharing your journey, because I think that a lot of people that are witnessing, like I said, a loved one battling cancer can either relate or find possible hope in your journey. Maybe incorporate some practices that you have done that has worked for you into their schedule. I just think that it brings a lot of hope and hopefully can resonate with people out there that are in a similar situation.
Can I share one other thing? It's actually like intuitively coming to me.
Please.
This was a really helpful practice for me. Was any time I had a negative thought, and I had to be rigorous with my mind, because after having my surgery, my body was not strong feeling yet. And so I felt that I had to really, the mind-body connection, I'd really had to work on my thoughts that I'm getting healthy and my mom is going to get better. And so I was like, anytime I had negative thoughts, I literally had to get on it like the police. I was policing myself.
Ooh.
And I was like, no, we're going to shift this thought.
Wow.
And I would literally go into like, whatever it is that if I was thinking negatively about myself or my mom, I had to shift and be like, all right. I literally was like, I'm policing myself. And I'd go into my own affirmations. I'd go into my own tapping, the EFT, emotional freedom technique. I'd immediately go into prayers. Like I had to like stop whatever I was doing. If I was even taking care of her, or I was with a client, or I don't know, didn't matter. I could be doing the dishes. I had to stop whatever I was doing and then shift my mindset, and then I could go back into the thing I was doing.
Wow. Yeah, policing your thoughts.
Yeah.
Wow. That's hard to do, because we have a lot of thoughts that we're unaware of.
Yes.
Good for you. Yeah, that's strength right there.
Yeah, it was no ands, ifs, or buts. It was no excuses. It was no like, I'm a victim because of my circumstances and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like get over it. Like, we're all going to die at some point, and it's not today.
Good
so
for you.
Just go for it. And that's kind of, and also with all my prayers, like I was going to I was going to get to, be in this chair, like the creator is this chair, and it would just hold me. And I needed that. I needed to be held by the Creator so I could be strong. And that was really like my thought. And so that's how I was able to like police myself. If I'm being held by the divine, then, you know, I can do this. So that's something that I feel really strong I needed to share.
Wow. Thank you so much. No, thank you so much for sharing. You know, like I said, I think that this journey can resonate with a lot of people that are on a similar journey. It shows people that they're not alone. They're not alone.
No, they're not alone.
No.
A lot of people are going through this.
Right. A lot of people are going through this. And I hope that listeners, viewers that are dealing with this feel community.
Yes.
You know, because support and strength helps us through challenging times.
Yes.
Right. And
yeah.
sharing. So, yeah. Thank you so much for getting on here and telling your story.
Yeah. You know, Melissa, you just tapped on something I didn't even say anything about, but community is huge. I did do a social media post and just announced it to people. Like, this is what we're going through. Please send prayers, energy, vibes. I don't care. Think a thought. Like, send good wishes to my mom and to us. And I did get the community involved. I got all of her friends involved. She was like, I don't know if I should tell people. And I was like, why? Like, let's tell people we need help. We need that support. We need the love. I know, like you said, there's power in prayer. I think we got like 500 plus people praying or, you know, doing something to send her good vibes.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so-
Feeling you're not alone.
Yeah, not alone.
Right. And her feeling she's not alone.
Mm-hmm.
The person suffering feeling that they're not alone. And also their loved ones.
Yeah.
Because it's a journey for the loved ones as well.
Yeah, knowing she's not alone and that she's loved and we're all connected and might as well be conscious that we're all connected.
Right. For people out there that might be struggling with cancer themselves, or if a loved one is struggling with cancer, do you know of any support groups or websites or anything that they could visit to find community?
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. So if you search on either Google or you can even go onto Facebook and search like your type of cancer. So for example, my mom has stage 4 colon cancer that's metastasized to the liver. And there's actual Facebook groups that are specific for your specific type of cancer. And it's not just on Facebook. I mean, they have different websites for that. So if you just Google whatever it is that you're dealing with your cancer, you can find different groups. Even your doctor, a lot of times, will have different support groups with the therapist and stuff like that. So you know from the beginning, you have support.
Great. Thank you, Erika. Thank you again for your share. It's powerful and it's necessary. Yeah. It is needed. Cancer is such a beast and it is everywhere. So thank you again for coming out and sharing. I really hope this content has resonated with a lot of people. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Happy to share about my journey, about my mom's journey, and how I've been able to support her.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this content valuable and informative. If you or a loved one is battling with cancer, please check out one or some of the groups that Erika mentioned. You will get through this. You are supported and you are loved. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And however you listen to your podcast, please like, share, and subscribe as well. One more thing, if you have a powerful share that you would like to showcase, please email at powerfulshares, I'm here to connect, @gmail.com, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.